Joe Edelman, welcome to your show, and tell me what you feel today is all about and what your position as the new chairman, what you envision for this 2024.
Thanks, Claude. I appreciate you coming out and meeting us today. We're really excited about tonight because it's the first of what I would call the kickoff into the 2024 election season. Special election that was brought to us because Governor Kemp actually appointed a vacancy to this district by appointing Barry Fleming to a Superior Court judgeship. So there are 5 people running for this position, and tonight should be very interesting. We'll get to learn a lot about the candidates and stuff. But just as chairman of the Columbia County Republican Party, one of the platforms that I ran on was to bring transparency and education and openness to our counties. And one of those things is to make sure that our candidates are profiled in a way that our constituents can watch them and learn from them so they can make the best informed decisions for themselves going into the 2024 election cycle.
So now this is already January, and we're talking about debate. Yep. We're talking about an election on the District 125th, which is for when?
So the election happens on February 13th, but advanced in-person voting actually began yesterday and will run for a considerable amount of time before the 13th. So the actual election day is February 13th.
And we know it's a political season because there are PACs out there already doing the work, and when the candidates are attacking each other, we know that there's a real war coming. And I think that it's kind of surprising because maybe people didn't expect this seat to be fought the way it's going to be fought.
Yeah, I think any of the positions in Columbia County are actually very, very important positions for the state. We have 5 elected officials that report up to the state in this community, with this position is one of the first that will go. This special election will just be for the remainder of the year, but then on the general ballot in May, there'll be a primary for the candidate that will represent this position from the Republican side, and will be on the November ballot. So
that's amazing because we're looking at a November ballot right in a local election, maybe a local candidate, and be able to represent actually maybe 2 elections in this coming year because the seat is for right now for how long?
Just until the end of the year. This is a vacancy position, but then they'll have to rerun again on the May ballot. So if they're elected again after this election cycle is over, that'll run for 2 years. So
now, besides this debate, which obviously was something that was miraculous that you could organize something so quickly, because there was very short notice.
Very short notice.
Exactly. But what else do you have planned for the rest of the year? If there aren't any other surprises, but what are the plans that you are looking for in February and March and April coming up?
Yeah, so this Saturday we actually have our Columbia County breakfast at Mi Rancho in Grovetown. We're going to bring in a bunch of candidates from the area, and they're going to meet with our constituents. Our constituents will be able to ask questions of them. Tonight's debate, there's no crowd participation, but I did kind of reach out to various entities within the community to ask them what are the top things that bubble to the top for you. So tonight's debate is really about the people. These are questions that the people want to know, not necessarily what bubbles to the top for the legislators, but it's what the people want to know. And people will be a little bit surprised by this debate. It's a little different than normal debate, so looking forward to that. But on Saturday, you can actually ask questions of the people who are running. So if you come out to our breakfast, I don't limit speech. So if you have a question you want to ask, as long as it's respectful, I don't limit speech.
I think that this is the year for Republicans and conservatives especially, maybe America First representatives, but this is the year that I think we're looking at a possible landslide because everything has been everything that the Democrats have done have been a disaster on every level. So it's exciting to be in your position in this town because it's an important, well, this is a battleground state. And the battleground is definitely in Augusta and Atlanta and all the different cities. So I think that this is the time for growth and more membership. How can someone watching this right now and stop complaining, join the fight, become a member? Am I right?
That's right. And we need all the boots on the ground we can get right now. So you can reach out to our membership at ccgop.org, and we'll get in touch with you if there's certain things that you'd like to get involved with within your neighborhood or within the broader party. We're open to anybody who wants to be involved. We need as many boots on the ground as possible. It is a very, very tight election year for all of us. We know that we have to do things smarter. We have to do things more active. I think one of the things I hope to bring to the table as a chairman during this election cycle is a new excitement. And we've seen that in some of the events that we've already done. We've been out at the fair. We've been at gun shows. We've done the Oliver Hardy Festival. We've had great reception with people in the community. So we're very excited about all the things that are coming up that we'll be involved with as well. We also plan on having I guess you would call what I call a 5-question series with our candidates where we capture them on video and we ask them 5 questions and see how they answer those things. We want to make sure that our constituents are making the best informed decisions for themselves and their families as we go forward, because a lot of times your representatives get into office and they don't represent the people anymore. So we need to really vet our candidates, make sure that our candidates represent our values, and I look forward to this election season. I think it's going to be a great one for us.
Well, first of all, the fact that you have your own monthly TV show, and it didn't happen by accident. You pushed very hard for that, and we definitely are very excited that you chose CTA to be a media partner in this venture, and we're excited to be here. So that is a big step, because that means you're taking this old crony Republican Party of what it used to be into the 21st century. And we're excited. We think our viewers are going to be excited. And every month you'll be back to introduce new segments or other areas. But we know that today, this is the opening segment. The rest will be highlights from the debate. Maybe some people that are here have some comments. But we're very excited to be having this program on CTA, actually Georgia's only true conservative television network.
And we're very excited to have you as well. We need a voice, and this is a great platform for us to get our voice out there and reach people that we don't normally reach. We have a lot coming up with this election cycle. Our precinct caucuses are coming up in March, in February, and then in March we have our county convention, and then it goes into district convention and state convention where we select our electors, state electors for this election cycle. So it's a very important election cycle for us in the Georgia GOP. So just looking forward to just doing as much as I can to keep engagement and just bring a different life to the party that it's been lacking.
So what we're going to do is make sure on CTA that all of the activities that your party's organizing are known to all of our viewers, so they can't miss a thing. We encourage them to join, to fight, to vote, because that's how you get to where we need to go.
Right.
And now, for the rest of the programming, that'll be the debate. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you, Claude. I appreciate it. Yeah, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in to us, and we look forward to a great election season.
I'm going to introduce each candidate, and after that, I will just kind of go through some housekeeping notes, let you know what this evening is going to feel and look like. John Turkish, our Libertarian candidate, is the first candidate to my left. You can stand, if you will, please, and acknowledge the crowd. We welcome you. Next to John is Republican candidate C.J. Pearson. To his left, fellow Republican Jim Steed. tough choice to make come election day. Hopefully you'll walk out of here a lot better informed. Each candidate got a copy of the rules prior to the debate, so they all know how this is going to play out. No candidate was given the topics or the questions in advance. This is going to be a round-robin style of debate, and we'll begin here with John and just go down the line to begin, and then we'll just rotate after that and make sure everybody gets a turn at being first. We'll have an opening statement from each candidate. Then we'll move on to our policy questions. Those are a little bit lengthier than our quick-fire questions. Those come next. Those are just rapid-fire questions, kind of our lightning round, if you will. And then each candidate will have a chance to make a closing statement. The opening statements are going to be 2 minutes each. They don't have to be, but that's your maximum amount of time. The policy discussion, those are 4 hot-button issues. Again, the candidates get 2 minutes to tackle those questions. After each question goes down the line and each answer is given, each candidate will have an extra minute to do a rebuttal to add on anything they feel is necessary at that point. And then the quick fire questions, and I'll remind you of this as we approach that part of our program, are just going to be straight up answers, no commentary, just deliver your answer to the question. For example, if I say, what color is the sky? You would hopefully just say blue and be done with it. Not, it's blue over my part of the district and not over my opponent's part of the district or anything else. Just answer the question, I beg you. And then after that, you'll have 2 minutes for your closing statement. So it's pretty straightforward. I do want to make sure, just for the record, y'all understand and agree to the format. Are y'all good with it? Okay, I appreciate that very much. So let's get underway. And by the luck of the draw, John Turkish leads off tonight with the first opening statement. And the microphone's right there, John. We're going to share that mic for all 4 of y'all tonight, please.
Thank you to the Columbia County Republican Party for having me, and thank all of you for being here. You know, I'm a software developer who works from home, so me and my family and I could have moved just about anywhere with good internet. We chose Grovetown because it seemed like a great place to raise kids. And I'm glad we did, or we wouldn't be here talking to you tonight. Despite some reporting to the contrary, I am the Libertarian Party candidate in this election. And that means I stand for individual natural rights like life, liberty, and property. I also stand for less government intrusion into your life, and for the free market and competition. For the few things that I do want government monopolies on, like the justice system and defense against invasion, I want the government to follow the rules, and I want accountability for officials of all kinds who don't. I stand by these things on principle. I want them not just for me and my family, but for you and your neighbors. It's how we get along, even if we don't always agree. So yeah, I stand for liberty in ways that you might like, and some ways that you probably won't. And I hope that you give me a fair shake. I want to ask you a question. What's the point of an election with only one candidate? How do you know that representative is going to represent you if you never had a choice? Consider that Georgia has Republican majorities in both the Senate and House, and yet funnels 3.1 billion a year of taxpayer dollars to the bashing of conservative values, Hollywood. But you know, we know the Republicans can win in this district. The question is, where's the competition?
John, thank you for your opening statement. We appreciate it. And as you heard that sound indicate, that's when the 2 minutes is up. And if you haven't wrapped it up yet, I encourage you to do so. Our next opening statement from C.J. Pearson tonight.
Well, thank you so much, Brad, for moderating this debate. I want to thank the Columbia County Republican Party for putting this on. I want to thank the men on this stage for offering themselves up for public service. Now, I'm going to address the elephant in the room right out of the gate. Age. It's come up a lot in this debate, and so I'm going to put it to rest right now. Yes, I'm old enough to drink a beer. And yes, at 21 years old, I am more qualified and able to be the state representative for this district than Joe Biden at 81 years old. But all jokes aside, I have spent nearly a decade on the front lines of the conservative movement, fighting against the radical left, standing up for Georgians, and advocating for America's next generation. And now I am running to be your next state representative. I'm running to abolish the state income tax, put more money into the pockets of hardworking Georgians. I'm running to cut government red tape, like certificate of need laws that prevent people who live in rural Georgia from accessing quality health care. I'm also running to keep Georgia, Georgia. And what does that mean? It means keeping the woke virus out of our schools. It means banning critical race theory. It means doing something that is only controversial in 2024, defining a woman as simply a woman. And I would be honored to have your vote. For the last few years, I have been a voice for Columbia County values on the national stage. And if you send me to Atlanta, I won't just be another Republican that goes along to get along. I'm going to be a fighter. I'd be honored to have your support. God bless you.
CJ, thank you so much for that opening statement. The next opening statement comes from Jim Steve.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out today. When I first announced my campaign, a lot of people were very surprised. I didn't fit the mold of a politician. I'm not a politician. I'm just an average Joe, average businessman in the area that decided that the people needed a voice. They needed somebody who is connected to them. Now, my family has been in this area for almost 100 years now. So when you're in that area that long, you basically have a bond with the community and the people. And through that bond, you basically could be a very, very good representative because you're connected to the people. You know the issues that are around because you're always there. Now, that is probably the best way to be a representative because it's very personal when you're representing the State House. You want to know what's going on at home. You want to be there when everybody is shopping and you're there with them. That's being involved. And so that's the kind of representative I would be should I go to the State House. Now, I've had a lot of things that I've done in the community, like I'm on the hospitality board. I'm also on the CTAE board and school system. I also taught school. Actually, CJ was in one of my classes when I substituted. Yeah. But he talked a little bit. We won't do that. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I currently serve as Farm Bureau President, and that's the main reason that got me into policy. And so that's a grassroots organization all over the state. So I have connections all over the state through county leaders and their representatives, and that's how I can effectively represent you at the Georgia House. And I'll hope for your vote. Thank you.
Jim Steve, thank you. Our next opening statement, Gary Richardson.
First off, I'd like to thank all of you gentlemen for offering yourself up for public service. It's a big commitment. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and just to get out and fight the fight. So thank y'all for offering yourself up. I'm Gary Richardson, and I want to thank all of y'all for coming tonight. Ginger and I have been married for 44 years. She is a retired Columbia County school teacher. We have 2 children, 2 daughter-in-laws, and 2 grandchildren. I was born in Augusta. My parents and sister were killed when I was 9 months old in a car wreck. My grandfather raised me, and he raised cattle, he built houses, and he was a farmer. He taught me the value of hard work. I graduated from Butler High and attended Georgia Southern. I moved to Columbia County in 1996. I worked for a convenience store company for 20 years, and we started Sparkle Express car washes in 2004. We now have 11 locations, 9 in Georgia and 2 in South Carolina. 2 of these are in District 125 with land already purchased for another in this district. My desire to serve started coaching T-ball in multiple sports. I was a booster club president at Greenbrier Middle School. I was on the film crew for Greenbrier High School. In 2009, I was appointed to the Planning Commission of Columbia County and served 6.5 years. I was elected as District 3 Commissioner in 2015 in a special election. I served the District 3 Commission for 8 years and was Vice Chair for 5 of those years. I look forward to continuing my service to the people of Columbia and in McDuffie County and District 125. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you all for your opening statements. This now allows us to move to our policy discussion questions. 4 questions, they'll have 2 minutes each to answer, then they'll have a minute if they so choose to rebut. So we just went through the order that was determined by the drawing, so now we'll just adjust it. CJ goes first for this one. We'll go down the line and then come back to you, John, to wrap it up. These questions were proposed by the Columbia County Republican Party. They were presented to me just prior to tonight's debate forum, and I will read them as proposed by the party, okay? So, CJ, here's our first policy question. The topic is illegal immigration. Yesterday, after 3 years in office, President Biden finally acknowledged the border crisis, saying the system is broken. According to the U.S. House of Representatives Judiciary Committee, since January 20th, 2021, the Biden administration has released into the United States more than 3.3 million illegal aliens. Georgia has become a beacon state for illegal immigration. Human trafficking and sex trafficking, as well as trafficking illicit drugs, including fentanyl and meth, continue to plague our great state. The I-20 corridor leading through the CSRA has become a drop-off point. This issue continues to circle at the top of the list of concerns for Georgians. Do you believe illegal immigration is an issue for Georgia? And if so, what specifically will you do to help keep our community safe, sovereign, and free from the financial burden and hardships of illegal immigration? If not, why do you believe that way?
Well, I absolutely believe that illegal immigration is an issue for the state of Georgia. I'm probably the only candidate on the stage who's actually been to the border and watched firsthand thousands of illegals walk across our border almost invited in. Under the lack of leadership of President Biden, every single state in this country has become a border state. Every single town in this country has become a border town. We see it with the fentanyl, we see it with the crime, and we see it with the lawlessness. And we see it with human trafficking. So don't kid yourself here. The problem is already within our own borders. When I go to Atlanta to fight for you guys as your next state representative, I will make clear that the state of Georgia will never be a sanctuary state. Never. We will never be a catch and release state. We will be a catch and deport immediately state. And already in Georgia, there's been legislation introduced that would also make clear that we're not going to follow in the footsteps of New York and give these people the right to vote. Not in my Georgia. When I go to the Capitol, we're going to fight to put Georgians first, not illegals, never in this state.
Thank you, CJ. Jim, same question to you. Is illegal immigration an issue? What would you do about it unless you don't believe it is? And why do you believe that way?
Well, I agree with CJ about the sanctuary cities. We do not need those in the state. But a lot of people don't realize all the drugs that are coming over. And I talked to Tyler Harper, who was the ag commissioner. He basically told me a lot of stuff is actually, they're finding it in produce trucks going across. And there's a big sting operation going on right now. So it's more than just people coming in here. There's a lot of drugs coming in here. It's affecting the cities. So we've got to make sure that Georgia does not become a sanctuary city state. It's hard on everybody to kind of picture, somebody that's coming across, and a lot of people feel sorry for them, especially the Democratic Party. But you've got to control it sometime. You can't have this many people come to the state. It's going to affect everything. Are you going to give them licenses or anything? So we've got to keep that away and not let them have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it. Gary Richardson up next on our immigration question.
Yes, sir. Brad, I absolutely believe there's a problem with illegal immigration. And I absolutely oppose and would fight to make sure that we would deport anybody that we could out of the state that is illegal. They're bringing illegal drugs in, there's illegal trafficking, gangs. It's just, I'm 100% supporter of law enforcement, and I would expect the law enforcement to take care, enforce our laws, and deport and move them out of the state of Georgia.
All right, Gary, thank you. We'll pass the mic down to John, and he will wrap up our immigration policy discussion.
Sure. So the way I see it, you can secure the border and you can have more stringent enforcement of existing laws. And to me, that feels like trying to treat hemophilia with Band-Aids. It's not a bad idea, but it's not going to fix the problem. There is a border crisis, and I believe it is about chickens coming home to roost. And the question mentioned that Joe Biden said the system is broken, and he should know. He was part of the Congress that refused to fix it. It's been immigration has been desperately needed reform for half a century now, and Congress has just refused to do its job. As a state level, though, there's very little we can do. Unless you're willing to secede from the union, and by the way, I don't support that. I know some libertarians do, I don't. Until you're willing to cross that line, you can't really change the rules for immigration here. You need to talk to your representative of the U.S. House.
All right, thank you very much, John. So we have rebuttals here, right? So we'll resume our order for this round. CJ, anything that you or the other gentleman would like to add? You have a minute, if so.
Well, I'm going to disagree with my friend John here. I think that the states do have a role in ensuring that illegal immigrants know that they will have no safe haven in the state of Georgia if they choose to come here. We have an obligation to make that clear. And there are many things that we can do. You know, one proposal that I could think of, if we could do it, send Sheriff Whittle down there, he'd have this cleaned up in a day. But unfortunately, we don't have that liberty. So what we have to do is, I think, reach out to our partners in Texas, ask them what help they need, but let illegals know there is no welcome mat here. When there are tens of thousands of homeless veterans living on our sidewalks in this country, I'm sorry, but I don't want to hear about illegal aliens. I don't want to hear about things like that. Well, another thing that a lot of people are thinking about, and I've heard it on the news, where some on CNN basically, because I do watch that to see what's going on that side. They talk about, we need people who take the jobs in the banks wants. There's an H-2A program for that in agriculture. And basically, you register those people with the state, and then once they're through with all the help that they got to deal with the farms and everything else, they send them back. The problem with that is they basically mandated that those farmers pay about $17 an hour to those people. And the farmers can't do it, so that's decreasing. As far as law enforcement, that Gary said, we need to really focus on law enforcement and give them the freedom they need to take care of this. I remember in Grovetown, there was one time where all the illegals, there was something going out that they were raiding and arresting all the illegals. And I happened to know one, and he ended up in North Carolina because he wasn't staying in Georgia. And that's the kind of things you can't do with the law. You can't basically make it uncomfortable for them to be here. And you just got to crack down some of the businesses too that hire some of the people.
Jim Steve, thank you so much. Gary Richardson, your rebuttal time.
Just go right back to the law enforcement, stay on the illegals, keep the heat on them, put the pressure on them, just like Jim said. They don't want to be where the pressure is on them and where they're constantly watched, and then they call, and we need to deport and move them out.
And John, you get the final rebuttal in round one.
So I don't know if I actually need to directly contradict what has been said here, but I'd like to point out that one of the biggest problems with the crisis that we stand is not actually illegal immigration, at least as defined by the feds. You can do constitutional arguments if you want. But I'm talking about people who are seeking asylum. They're legally classified as asylum seekers, but that's not actually what they really want to do. In a lot of cases, what they would like to do is get a job. And they're not able to get to work visas because that's one of the most broken parts of the system. I get frustrated when government stands in the way of people's freedom, generally speaking, but I get extra frustrated when what that person wants to do is to be productive and do something with their lives. And we tell them, no, you're not allowed to work. We're going to provide for you with government help. And let's just, if we were talking at the federal level, that would be my concern.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that. So Jim, Steve, you get to lead off this round as we move to policy question number 2. The topic for that is the economy, inflation, and the cost of living. Some background on the question. A report done by the U.S. Senate Joint Economic Committee as of November 2023 says that it costs Americans an additional $11,434 a year to maintain the same standard of living that they had back in January of 2021 under the Trump administration. The Consumer Price Index continues to skyrocket every year. And since January of 21, under President Biden, it's gone up 17.2% as a whole. The cost of food going up 20%, energy up 32%, where real average weekly earnings for all employees have gone down 4.5%. In the past month alone, Georgians have paid nearly $1,000 more for everyday items. Here's the question. Do you believe our economy is in decline? And what's your plan to ease the economic burden on Georgians? If you don't believe we are in decline, please tell us why.
Well, we're definitely in decline. I operate the corn maze out there in Growtown, and everything that I had went up a lot. And we try not to make it too pricey, and I had to actually go up $1 on my admission. I don't like doing that because I like people to come out. But the main thing about this is Biden is basically making us energy dependent. That is driving everything to go up. If you haul anything on a truck, you're going to pay more for it because it's got to be absorbed somewhere. So that's the main reason why the standard of living is gone out of sight. I saw a post on Facebook just the other day where a guy had posted, well, this was a year ago, it was a memory, well, a couple of years ago. And it came up and paid $1.80 for gas. It basically put me out of the trucking business because I was in the trucking business when Obama was in there and it went up to $4 or something a gallon. And the fuel ate me up. I was paying $8,600 a month, and then all of a sudden I was paying $26,000 a month just for fuel. And it's hard to make that up, and it's going to put a lot of people out of business. I'm worried too about credit cards because people are putting everything on credit cards now, and it's so easy to do, and it's going to basically drive a lot of people to lose their homes and everything else, and it's all because of the policies that Biden has. And Trump basically made us energy independent. You saw what the gas prices were then. So I think the main thing we can do as far as, I think Governor Kemp is also taking away the tax on fuel, which helped out everything. So I think there's some measures that you can do, but until the national policy on getting our own oil and everything else, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's just going to steady decline until we get there.
Thank you, Jim. Gary, your thoughts on our economy and what you'd like to do to help it?
Well, I agree that the economy is through the roof. It is, everybody is in line, just the rates going up, food going up, the cost of fuel going up. And I agree with Jim, energy independence, and it's got to come from a national level. I think we need to be drilling in America. We need to be tapping in those resources and to reduce our dependence on foreign countries. So I think that insurance, runaway insurance, everybody's cost of insurance. If you've recently got your renewal on your homeowners or your auto is through the roof, I think there needs to be some sort of tort reform looked at. Runaway lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits now. So I think that needs to be addressed because that gets passed on. So just everything that it continues to, when you open you go to your mailbox, you've got a new bill with a higher rate. So
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate appreciate that. John, back to you. So talk about our economy.
Yep. So I'd actually like to separate the question a little bit if I could. Inflation of the dollar and the economy. The economy is what you do to make your own and other people's lives better in exchange for goods and services that you want. The inflation is about the dollar. The dollar is a fiction created by the Federal Reserve banks. The best thing and by the way, I don't think we're done with inflation. People talk about it going down, but if you looked at the rate of increase in money supply, both at 1 and number, it is not yet reflected in consumer prices. I think not only is inflation going to continue, I hate to get doomsayer, but I expect it to accelerate a bit. And the best thing I can encourage you to do is to try to opt out of the dollar when you can. And I know that's difficult because sooner or later you have to pay taxes or bail out a loved one, or heaven forbid. One of the things I would like to do as your assemblyman, I'm pushing for monetary metals. This would be treating gold and silver, coins in particular, as legal tender in Georgia. And the reason it's gold and silver is because the U.S. Constitution says that's the only thing we're allowed to make legal tender. And it's not because there's anything special about those particular metals, but the idea is to give people more opportunities to opt out of this, frankly, this scam that was created by a supposedly private entity that was created by the U.S. Congress. Just monetary metals.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you. CJ, you get the last word for this first part of our economic section.
Well, I'm going to say my opponents are a lot more polite than me, Brad. You know, to answer your question, is our economy in decline? I think Stevie Wonder could see that our economy is in decline right now. Guys, Biden inflation is hurting everyone. Americans, Georgians, and everywhere. And if you want to see it, just go to the grocery store. I've heard too many stories of people having to pull up to the checkout line and take things out of their buggy because things are just too expensive. And I believe we actually can do some things to solve that here at the state level. It's why I'm pledging to eliminate the state income tax, which would save Georgia taxpayers approximately $7,000 per year. I know that politicians love to run on budget surpluses, but when I look at that, I say, wait, why is there a surplus? Why'd you take that much money from me? I think it's a lot better spent in my pocket. So let's eliminate the state income tax. But also, too, let's not stop there. Let's eliminate government red tape that makes it harder for small businesses to run and operate and be successful. Basic thing. But also, too, I agree with Gary. I think that we should tackle tort reform. I sat down with a good friend, Andy Knox, in Thompson over in McDuffie County yesterday. And he told me about how small businesses are paying almost double in insurance renewals and fees, and some insurance carriers won't even write policy in Georgia anymore. And that cost is being sent to us to pay. And so I think that we can solve this problem. I think we can tackle this problem. There's going to take some will, some political strength to do it, but I think we have it. And that's why we need to fight here in Atlanta.
CJ, thank you so much. I'm going to ask you to stay in order for your 1-minute rebuttals if y'all need one.
I kind of want to add to what CJ just said, because when I had the corn days, it's hard to get liability for a business. And I had some companies that wouldn't even look at it. In fact, when I had one company that I just got it, and it was outrageous just for 3 months. Now, I did do the farm on it too, but once I had a windstorm and it tore the barn down, my agent actually advised me not to file it, not to put it down, because if I did, I was going to lose my policy. And I had to have that liability policy. So, things like that happen, and the tort reform has got to happen. It's getting ridiculous. And if you stay at home on a weekday, that's all you're going to see is lawyers' ads all over the TV. So, you know, we've got to get a handle on that, and I agree with CJ, it's getting outrageous on that.
Thank you, Jim. Gary? Thank you. No, y'all are good. Yeah, so no, yeah, Jim, then Gary. Yeah, then John, then CJ. But you can go ahead and joke, Mike. Yeah, you're fine. I don't think we'll get in trouble.
So I actually had a fair bit of agreement with Mr. Pearson here. Earlier I tried to make the distinction between inflation and the economy. There's a couple of ways you can measure the economy. One is by how much is being And by that measure, we're actually doing pretty good. Because Americans are hardworking and innovative and productive people who are doing just as well as we were yesterday. The other way to measure it, how much are you getting out of the county economy in the form of standard of living? And that's not improving. Even though we keep having more on the production side, it's not helping ordinary Americans. Why? Because parasite, more and more. As it keeps growing and growing, and yes, we absolutely need to fight back against that.
All right, that leads us to Gary to wrap this up. Do y'all need me to do anything on this end with this microphone down here? Just kind of wave at me or come down, don't be shy. We'll make sure that it works as best as it can. All right, thank you. Make sure it's okay. You're okay? All right, good. Let me ask, okay, no, Gary, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I have to anchor the 11 o'clock news, so we really need to focus on our time. And we're very well. Let me ask you a quick question, John. Not trying to be facetious. Are you encouraging us to use means other than the dollar to pay for things when possible? And how would that look? If someone came and performed a service at my house, I would pay them with gold or silver?
That's what it's not. Now, if we, just to be clear, the proposal is not to demonetize the dollar. If you like your dollars, it's what you keep using your dollars, it's just to open up more competition in money.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Gary, you're going to lead this round off. The topic is the decay of moral values. The decay of moral values in the U.S. is a major concern to Georgians. Every day, our children are bombarded with hypersexualized and desensitizing content, easily consumable in school, in libraries, on social media. The nuclear family has become a relic. The U.S. has the highest percentage of single-parent households in the world, 23%. Dual-income lifestyles have become a norm. Both scenarios leave our children more exposed to outside influences, including extended time on social media without adult supervision. When asked about the impact of social media on body image, 46% of adolescents 13 to 17 years old said social media makes them feel worse, leading to increased thoughts of self-harm and suicide. According to the CDC, over a decade, there's been a 57% increase in child suicide. 13% of adolescents have reported having serious thoughts of suicide. Gary, beginning with you, do you agree that society is in moral decay? If so, why? And what measures do you propose to remediate and restore moral values in our community? If you don't believe any of that, then tell us why.
Well, I absolutely believe that our society is in moral decline. And I think it starts off when you take prayer out of school, when you turn away from the church, when you turn away from the Bible. In my mind, you're just opening yourself up for just anything. I think everybody needs to have a moral compass of some type to focus on. I know what mine is. It is my Lord Jesus Christ. And I think if you do not have anything to hold, that you will be searching for something to hold to, whether it's pornography or whether it's gambling or whatever. I think all of that is part of where our society is gone awry. And in my mind, if yes, the single families, yes, I understand. If a single family, single mom having to work, having their kids being home and being alone, I understand that. But I do think if they're unsupervised or having access to social media and just kind of any open into that, I think it just leads down a road of decay. So that's my stand.
Thank you, Gary. Back all the way down to John to talk about the state of our morals in our society.
Yeah. So a lot of the concerns in the question, very legitimate concerns, I share many of them. In my opinion, a lot of them really come down to how hard it is to be a parent. I think most of the people in this room can commiserate with me on that. We are raising children and trying to prepare them for a world that is unlike what we grew up in. I did not have to, none of my friends were on Discord when I was a kid. That wasn't a thing.
None of your friends did what? None of your friends did what when you were a kid?
I just picked I just did Discord.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I'm just picking on it. There's nothing particularly bad about Discord, especially, but it's a
I think
different.
everybody's moved on to MySpace. So, social media when you were a kid, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a different world, and there's a lot. Families are going to have a hard time with that. But I trust your decision about your children more than I trust my own decision about your children. Families and parents have a lot to say on this. Churches have something to say on this. But if I were in your shoes, I would not trust the politicians in Atlanta to be the moral crusaders, to trying to tell you what's moral and what's not. That is, in fact, might be the last person I would trust to lean on the question of morality. So, I'm sorry to say, the best I can do is to say that I would support parental rights and making decisions for people who are too young to make those decisions for themselves.
Thank you, John. CJ, you're up next with the moral values question.
Well, Brett, I want to thank you for asking that question. And I also want to zero in a little bit locally here. Moral decay is absolutely something that we need to confront as a society. This week I actually went to our county library, and I found this book here. It's called The Bare Naked Book. This is the cover of that book. On the back it talks about how it's going to teach about bodies, gender, and inclusion. I would show you some of the pictures, but it probably wouldn't be fit for the 11 o'clock news. And so why is it in our libraries? This is the problem if we're not vigilant. We will allow these people to California or Georgia, Atlanta or Columbia County, and we've got to fight back. There is no place for this sexual perversion in our libraries. There is no place for this sexual perversion in our schools. And this book, right here, this Bare Naked book, is marketed to 1 to 4-year-olds in our county library. No, not in my Columbia County should this be. Nowhere. We've got to be vigilant. We've got to protect the innocence of our children. And I would ask you, Commissioner, if there's anything you can do to get this book out of our libraries, please do. I checked it out. I can only keep it for so long. But it has no place being read by 1 to 4-year-olds. I don't have any children, but I wouldn't let them read this.
All right, we'll get to Gary in just a moment. All right, is that mic good, y'all?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
All right, well, in our society today, of course, you've got single-parent homes. I was raised in a single-parent home when I was young. I don't think that's as much of a problem. But my dad was involved. You could be in a single-parent home and still have your parents involved, your dad involved. But usually that doesn't happen now. The thing that concerns me is when I taught school, the cell phones, it was terrible. They need to pass something. It's all dependent on the school board in each district. But I think there needs to be something done statewide to ban the cell phones in schools because they're basically not paying attention to anything. You can't hardly teach them anything, and they're exposed so much. And I think kids need a break from the phones. And an 8-hour break a day is not going to hurt them too much. I know some people say it's a safety thing. But the other thing is, we've got kids today, they have a hole. They have a hole in their soul. And they don't need to go on the internet to find it. They need to go to a worship center. And that's the big problem. It's as much of a parent problem as it is the kids. But we've got to basically help the kids learn that, the internet is not, there's a lot of things you can do that's very helpful, but once the kids have those phones in schools and they're going to be on the phones, stuff spreads like wildfire. Cyberbullying is really bad. And a lot of kids have gotten really hurt from that, and I saw examples of it when I talked. So, that's one thing we could do statewide, is just mandate the phones are not in the classroom during instructions. And I think that's something that we could basically handle.
Thank you, Jim. So we need Gary, you use your minute however you choose. CJ did ask if the commission could do anything to keep certain books out of libraries. Jim touched on the fact that that's a school board issue. Just your rebuttal, however you please.
Brad, I am no longer a commissioner as I resigned to run for this seat, but Columbia County does have a avenue if someone comes across a book that they feel that is offensive. You can challenge that book. It goes before the library board, and it can be dealt with at that point. Whether this book has been challenged or not, I don't know, but we could check into that. If not, that may be a challenge that you would like to make, CJ, to see if we could get that replaced or removed or whatever. But there is a constitutional that the county, and we took an oath that we uphold the Constitution and First Amendment, and until it's challenged, we just can't do that.
All right, let's go to, and CJ, I know you want to talk, let's go to John with that green microphone. Keep our order here. If you would like to rebut anything.
Yeah, I actually would like to mildly disagree with Mr. Steve. Banning phones in school is not a bad idea. A lot of schools do it. Doing that ban at the state level, I believe, is a bad idea. The school board is much closer to you. Your local school board is much closer to you and understands the community better, understands your children better, and can be influenced by parents more easily than the assembly in Atlanta. Your school district, our school district, my kid actually goes to this exact school. It's not exactly the same as Valdosta. The decisions about how children are educated should be made as locally as possible. And I'll go one step further. I believe in educational freedom. We should have backpack funding so you don't even feel like you have to send the kid to your assigned public school. There should be many more options, not just private schools and charter schools, but also homeschooling. Some people are non-schooling, but you know what? It's their kid. And that's how I feel about it, is the more choices made by the parent, the better, and why not the parent at the community level.
CJ, your thoughts for your rebuttal time?
Yeah, well, Commissioner, with all due respect, you know, I love the Constitution. I would consider myself a constitutionalist. The Constitution does not protect the right to corrupt 1 to 4-year-old children with lies about gender, dysphoria, fluidity, or any of that nonsense. I'm sorry. That's not a constitutional issue. We should protect our children, full stop. And I think also, too, it's like I understand that there's a process to getting books removed, you know, through some bureaucracy and some committee here. But I think that we've got to be vigilant. Guys, if we allow these things to seep into even Columbia County, nowhere in Georgia is safe. We've got to protect our Columbia County values as much as we can, and it starts by getting rid of nonsense like this. But not just waiting for someone to bring it to our desk, but actually going out into the community, going into these libraries and seeing and doing what I did. I looked for this, I saw it, and I said, okay, this is a problem, let's shine a light on it, let's do something about it. As your state representative, I'm not going to wait for you to bring problems to my desk for me to actually do something about it. I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to fight for you, whether it's about eliminating this filth from our institutions or delivering for you and putting Georgians first. You can bet on that. Thank you.
Jim, Steve, your chance for
So first of all, I wonder how CJ brought props for questions we didn't even know about. The other thing that I'd like to touch on what John said, yeah, you want your kids to have freedom, your districts to have freedom as far as they educate the kids. Having cell phones not education. You could basically ban it statewide and make sure the schools went to it. And it's not anything to do with taking away any kind of freedoms of education for these districts. It's just that we need a pattern that the state applies to all the districts, because there's a lot of teachers that are basically retiring early Are they getting burned out? Believe me, I saw it in the schools. And before long, you're not gonna have a lot of teachers, quality teachers, to go into the core schools. So let's have the teachers out as much as we can, and let's try to keep these kids from being on their phones at least 8 hours a day. That would be my call.
Let me, that concludes the vote time. Let me just clean up two quick things. CJ and Gary asked of you if you were capable of carrying this concern back to the commission. I know you're not a commissioner. Any connections there where you could get that bare naked look in front of the right people? Mike.
Absolutely. It's a process.
Okay.
And I think the process is a good process. Now, there is a change in the way that the library board is worked. There was one or two staff members that was already for all of the libraries in Columbia County. A lot of books. There's a lot of books in all of the different libraries in Columbia County.
Sure.
So we changed that where the library board is now reviewing the books, and then they make a recommendation whether it should be ordered or not instead of a staff member.
Okay, very thanks. And then CJ, Jim indicated that he was curious that you knew to bring that book and nobody knew the questions. Your thoughts?
I think this is an issue about whether I'm asked about it or not. I think moral decay is important to talk about whether I'm asked about it or not. What seeping into our schools, our libraries, is worthy to talk about whether I'm asked about it or not. Again, this goes back to being proactive. I'm not going to wait to be asked about the issues that are plaguing our community. I'm going to stand up and talk about it and fight to solve them. I don't need someone to prompt me for it. I'm going to do the work to ensure that we keep Georgia, and we don't allow the radical left to bring their California values right here.
All right, I appreciate that, gentlemen.
CJ, you live in California?
Work for Greater University, one of the leading nonprofit organizations in the United States, fighting.
And you bring,
We're not formal in this organization.
and you live
I did like Georgia. I went to Moose Elementary School. I mean, it's a long
CJ,
time.
real quick, this one up. You went to or worked for Creighton University, a California-based university. Were you a resident of the state of California because of that?
I know.
Are you good with that, Gary? Well,
I don't know where CJ's lived. I just know he's registered to vote in multiple states and.
CJ, you registered to vote in several states.
That is not true. The only state is here.
Okay, all right. And I can, okay, good. Well done, y'all. We're going to go to our fourth and final policy question now. And it is a simple one. It's probably one that you all ponder, and let me just get y'all set for your work. John, CJ, Jim, and Gary. You probably thought of this when you were making the decision to run. Probably discussed it with your inner circle. In what ways are you different from the other candidates? And why should your constituents cast their vote for you?
The main way that I differ from these other candidates, there are a few issues where we disagree significantly, but fundamentally, is about intellectual humility. I don't have all the answers for you. I just don't. What I do know is that the less we have decisions made in the will and your own group, the better. I'm also just, I should put this out there, because if anyone has to vote for me, don't be surprised if you start hearing that voting no a lot in the assembly. There's just far too many bills that don't want, that should not be passed. They're going through the election. The support for both Republicans and Democrats. And we need to elect people for the value of saying no, I want this week.
Thank you very much. CJ, let's see your remark. Why should people vote for you? And I know this probably overlaps a little bit to closing statements, but just kind of what distinguishes you?
I think now more than ever, if you look across our state, Georgia is still an incredible place to live and raise your children. But we have to be vigilant to ensure that it remains that place. We cannot elect another go along to middle Republican in this seat. We need to elect a fighter. Someone who will take on the right I couldn't pass it up. America is the greatest country in the world, and it's worth fighting for. Jim Stevens.
Well, the thing I think sets me apart from the others is because, like I said earlier, my family's been here probably 100 years. If you're a representative in the state house, you basically, it's more personal. You have to know the people you make good decisions. You have to know
know a lot.
Yeah, I do certainly put more weight on the constituents' voices than the voices of the lobbyists in Atlanta. But, and this is about who's the argument, voting for what's right is what's important to me, not voting for what's popular, whether it be the constituents or anyone else.
All right, John, I'll stick with you. We'll just keep going back and forth down the line. Do you support the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms?
Yeah, the Second Amendment is a good test.
Yes, excellent. CJ, how about you?
I go
Jim?
Again,
Do you support the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms?
of course.
Gary?
Yes, sir.
All right, how about this from Dr. Ryan Kemp? Here's the question. Do you support Dr. Kemp's attempt at an income tax reduction of only 0.1%? There's been a lot of talk about our income taxes, maybe to the point where we don't have one day. Kemp, according to this question, wants to cut it by 0.1%. Do you like that amount?
I would like for,
You like it? Okay.
yes, any reduction is a good reduction, let's get to zero.
All right, Jim.
I agree.
CJ.
Let's get rid of it.
John, you like it?
I do like it, yeah. I'd rather get rid of the income tax too, but
How about this? Staying on that same topic. Do you support, John, State Senator Colton Moore's state income tax elimination bill that would reduce income tax by 1%, not 0.1, 1% every year for 6 years? Your thoughts on that? Or yes or no, you like that?
I think that's a great idea, yes.
It's a great place to start.
Yes.
Yes.
Me too, man. I don't like taxes. They're such a pain. Number 6 on the rapid fire questions. Do you believe there was an insurrection at the Capitol building, Gary, on January 6th, 2021?
Yes.
Yes, you do believe that there was one. Jim, he had to take that tough one first. What do you think?
What are the insurrection you're talking about? The people that were out there on the Capitol?
Yeah, remember all that stuff that was
I know, but
going on?
I'm saying you're not blaming somebody else for instigating them to do it, right?
Well, just like I do on the news, I'm reading what they tell me to
Okay.
read.
I have to say yes. I mean, the people that actually broke through in the Capitol should be punished.
All right, you think it's an insurrection punishment coming? CJ, insurrection or no?
I think the people that committed violence were wrong, but I also think that we should be talking about BLM burning down America a few summers ago and not January 6th.
Jim, your thoughts on January 6, 2021, insurrection or no?
No, I'm actually a little bit surprised at how close everyone was to some of this. It's a riot. It was a riot and riots and crowd, but it was not an insurrection.
Do you oppose government-funded health care and support free market solutions?
I do, however, let's face it out carefully.
CJ?
Fully in favor of free market solutions.
Jim?
Yes, I am too.
And Gary?
Yes.
Gary? Do you oppose abortion and support pro-life policies where life begins at conception?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
CJ?
Yes.
And John?
No, not conception.
I'm sorry, so do you oppose abortion?
I think most people don't like abortion, so yeah, I oppose abortion.
And support pro-life policies where life begins at conception?
No, not a conception.
Okay. Staying with you, do you support traditional marriage and oppose same-sex marriage?
I oppose government involvement in marriage in any way. They shouldn't ask you whether you're married.
CJ?
I support the Supreme Court decision that allowed for states to determine that.
I agree the state should determine that.
Gary? You think it should be a state decision as well? I didn't hear you. Yeah. Number 10, do you believe in climate change, Gary, and the need for additional environmental regulations? Did y'all say let's make every fourth question a doozy? Because Gary keeps getting hit with it. You think climate change is real, and do we need more environmental regulations?
Limited.
Limited, okay. Jim, your thoughts on that?
That's a no for me. I don't think so. The climate change is changed all the time in the past, so I don't think it's a climate change situation.
CJ?
This global warming nonsense is real. We need some in Augusta right now, so that's all I have to say.
All right, John?
Climate change is real is a slogan. Every climate changes, that's a part of what it means. I don't trust the government with this.
Okay, stick with you, John. Do you oppose affirmative action and support merit-based policies?
I believe that institutions should do what they want and the government should have no role in it. If you feel the need to do affirmative action, I don't think there should be a law against it. I might criticize it, but there shouldn't be a law against it.
CJ?
I 100% oppose affirmative action, and I do not believe that government or any business, college, whatever institution may be, should treat the color of my skin as a disability. I don't treat it as such, and neither should them.
Jim, your thoughts on affirmative
I
action?
agree with CJ on that one. That's,
Yeah, you oppose it?
I'm voting.
Gary's opposed as well. Just a few more, y'all. Do you support, Gary, legislation that bans China or other adversarial countries from investing in land or other assets in Georgia?
I do support that.
Okay, Jim?
I support that also.
CJ?
I do support that.
And John?
No, I don't. It's a bad idea on the CCP part. It's let them make their own mistake.
So you don't support legislation that bans them from doing
I
that?
do not want to use the law to ban them, no.
Gotcha. All right. Do you believe a business, John, organization or otherwise, has a right to mandate vaccinations? Does a business or any other group have a right to do that?
Only to the degree it complies with the contracts people enter into when they decide to associate with that business.
All right. Thank you, CJ.
I'm a full supporter of medical freedom. You know, the left loves to talk about my body, my choice, except when it comes to vaccines. It's tired, it's hypocritical, it's wrong.
Yeah, I agree, it's wrong also.
Gary?
Don't support.
No mandate. Y'all, I don't know if you can hear from the audience, but it is funny. The lightning round has now audience participation round. They are answering these questions before y'all are. And it's funny to see if y'all's answers echo theirs. So no, it's glad everybody's taking part. Two more, I think. No, there's a little bit more than two, not a ton. Who is it, John or Gary? Let's start with you, Gary. Do you believe that gender dysphoria is a mental illness?
No.
You do not believe it's a mental illness. Jim, do you believe that gender dysphoria is a mental illness?
Well, I'm not a doctor, but I really don't believe in it. I believe it's mainly the conditions around where it was down.
Okay, all right. CJ?
It's a mental illness.
John?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor either, and I trust you to make the decision about your own life, not me. Do it yourself.
John, we'll stick with you. Do you support an immediate investigation into Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis, given the recent revelations of alleged misconduct?
Yeah, lots of investigations for political officials. Government officials need to be held accountable across the board at all times.
CJ?
Yeah, I don't support just investigation. I support an absolute impeachment of her. Number one, her political persecution of President Trump has been absolutely wrong, but also to use taxpayer dollars to fund her illicit affair with a special prosecutor is totally an impeachable offense, and she has no business being the Fulton County DA.
Jim?
We're looking at a bill in the House right now to form a committee to basically prosecute these attorneys, these rogue attorneys, so yeah.
And Gary, your thoughts on Fannie Willis in that situation?
Yes, I do. Any prosecutor that does not prosecute the laws of the state of Georgia, I'm opposed to them and removing them if possible.
Okay, we'll stick with you. Go back down the line. Next question, and after this one, there are two more. Do you support Governor Kemp's recent trip to Switzerland to meet with the World Economic Forum? I think he just got back or is on his way back from that. What do you think about that trip?
No.
You don't like the he went over there? Jim, how about you? The World Economic Forum.
I don't like that.
CJ?
I'm an America First guy. So.
All right. John?
I don't have a strong opinion about gas pipeline on there.
The Republican National Committee passed a resolution called A Return to Excellence in American voting and elections. And John, we'll start with you. The RNC passed that. Calls on every county and state in the country to use as the default ballot systems those that are fully auditable, namely hand-marked, voter-verified, paper ballots, to make sure every voter is memorialized by a paper record. The Georgia Republican Party adopted the same resolution just this past weekend, and the Columbia County Republican Party did the same thing in September of 2023. Additionally, this past week, during the ongoing Curley versus Raffensperger trial in Judge Amy Totenberg's district court in Atlanta, an expert witness, Professor Alex Halderman, gave an indoor demonstration on how easy it is to hack a machine, flip votes, and print more paper receipts using only a pen. Given the mounting evidence against machine voting, do you support legislation that would call for same-day voting with secure hand-marked paper ballots?
I enthusiastically support hand-marked paper ballots. We have been pushing for this for years. The barcode, the thing that you actually do, and you verify, when I voted on Monday, I did not scan the barcode with my phone and verify who it said. I didn't ever guess what I voted for, by the way. Absolutely, auditability is critical. Even if you believe there's no fraud going on, we need people have faith in the elections. And people will have more faith in the election if they understand the system, they can see it working, they can see how many people audited were fraud.
Okay. Paper ballot only system.
Yeah, no, I agree with John. I think without election integrity in this country, we have no country. And I would support every single measure that ensures that our elections are dependable, secure, that the people of Georgia have confidence with every single ballot that they place. I've been on the front lines of the election integrity movement. I've shone a light on this issue. I think that we need to continue to do all that we can to ensure that what happened in 2020 doesn't happen again. I don't think there should be any question about irregularities.
I don't know if y'all remember the hanging chads in Florida when they had that. I think that was, that was nothing compared to what we have to deal with now. So we should go back to that kind of paper ballots.
What do you think about paper ballots only, Gary?
I do support paper ballots, but they need to be where you can account them and have results in a timely manner. I don't think people are going to be able to wait days to know the count. So, yes, paper ballots, a way that we can get the results quicker.
What did you say, sir? You wanted to ask?
The only problem I have with that, I'd rather have a secure, true ballot and wait a couple of days than one that's not.
Okay. Let me ask you all this final question, and I think we started with you last time, John, so we'll start with Gary and come back to you. Who do you support for President of the United States of America this year?
I support whoever the nominee is out of the Republican Party.
Jim?
Well, I've supported Trump the last 2 times, I'm going with him again.
CJ?
I supported President Trump in 16, supported him in 20, and we'll support him again in 24.
And how about you, John?
I support Chase Oliver. Not only do I often agree with him, but I know Chase and I trust him.
We appreciate that. Y'all, let's hear from our candidates for the lightning round. Close. Okay, so let's jump right into our closing statements. 2 minutes of pop, that's it. We'll put a bow on this form. Okay, use the yellow mic for the closing statements. Okay, thank you. John, you'll start. So we'll pass that yellow mic down to you, and we're just going to use the yellow one to close this out.
Very well.
And you all, I appreciate you keeping us on time as best as possible. And John Purpose, your closing statement tonight.
So I'd actually like to start off by filling in on a couple of things that got missed earlier.
How you feeling?
I don't know if you remember, there used to be these buttons that said, "Don't be a Second Amendment butt," meaning don't with all the exceptions. Earlier, through poor choice of words and time limits, I accidentally said the Second Amendment is good text, but what I was going to follow it on with is I support it not just because it's an amendment, I support your right to self-defense, regardless of how the courts are interpreting that particular document right now. You have a right to defend yourself from common criminals and also from tyrants. And that doesn't depend on the Constitution. I love that it's there, but it's not, it doesn't go far enough, frankly. I'd like to say something else though. If you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got. Politicians will say that they want your champion and fight for you and your way of life and ask you to give them more money and more power and more votes to go to Atlanta to fight against, frankly, your neighbors and people in far-flung parts of the state as a proxy fight for you. So the Capitol should be this hotbed of conflict, right? But if you go and count the votes on House bills from the previous session, 90.6% of those votes were yes. That's Republicans and Democrats working together to advance their agenda on behalf of people who can afford lobbyists. Elect me to say no to new government intrusion in your life. That's just not going to, it can't go on like this. If Georgia were to elect a libertarian representative, the political class would have to stand up and take notice. They have no choice. It wouldn't be the first time it's happened, but it would be the first time it's happened in the South. They call Georgia inelastic, that the only thing changes from election to election is who shows up to vote. And that supposedly means that change can't happen here. But of course, that's not true. If you vote for Gallup, it's as simple as that. And I think if you vote for John Turbish, you're going to cause the old establishment parties to be on notice that they need to earn your vote. www.turbish.vote.
All right, thank you very much, John Turbish. Up next with a closing statement, C.J. Pearson.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for coming out here tonight to listen to all of us talk. My name is C.J. Pearson. I'm a product of Columbia County, Georgia. I went to Lewiston Elementary, I attended Columbia Middle, and I graduated from Evans High School. And while I've been fortunate enough to be able to crisscross the country fighting for conservative values, fighting for President Trump in 2016, doing it again for him in 2020, standing by him today as well, I always remember the lessons that my grandparents taught me, and they're here today, that the most important fight is the one that is on your doorstep, the one right here at home in Georgia. Guys, this election is a critical one, and we have got to send a fighter to Atlanta who, again, will not go along to get along, who will not pass the buck, who will take on the radical left, do the hard things, eliminate the state income tax, eliminate this government red tape that affects development issues and also it stands in the way of things like certificate of need, but also to fundamentally ensure that we are keeping Georgia, Georgia. Georgia is the greatest state in the country, and America is the greatest nation in the world. And I gotta say, when people ask me, why are you running for office? It's a little bit for a selfish reason. It's because I want to raise my children here, and I want them to raise their children here. This election is about the future of our state. And guys, I'm the future. That is why I care. That is why I am passionate. That is why I'm on this stage and I've been fighting for conservative values since I was 12 years old and wasn't even old enough to really even care. Because guys, we're not great by accident. We're great by continuing to do the work to keep Georgia, Georgia, to keep Georgia great. And let's make it clear, we will not allow those Atlanta establishment people to Atlanta our Columbia County. They can keep their big city values where they are. We're good here. Thank you, and I would appreciate your vote on February 13th.
And now a closing statement from Jim Steve.
Well, stuff's been bugging me while I've been sitting up here as far as, the answer I had in the rapid fire as far as the insurrection in the White House. I've been watching a lot with Farm Bureau, and the Capitol Police are everywhere. Where were they that day? There was nobody there. Now, the people that busted in, they need to be punished as protesters, basically, but the word insurrection, I'm not happy with it. Now, when I was 21 years old, I voted for Ronald Reagan in my very first election. And I've been a conservative ever since. So for 40 years, I've been this way. And I'll always be that way. But I may not have consultants, and I may not have fancy flyers. Of course, mine are probably the dullest flyers you can see out there. But what I do have is a desire for this community. It's not the desire for me. This is no stepping stone thing for me. I don't plan on being the governor of the state of Georgia one day. All I want to do is serve the community the best that I can. And I think I have the tools to do it with all the connections I've got. And I have the communities in my heart. So that's why I think I would be the best representation for you. So when you go to vote, if you see my name, punch it. Because I'm all in.
Thank you very much, Jim. And now a closing statement from Gary Richardson.
Yes, I'd like to thank everybody again for attending tonight, and I'd like for y'all to send me to Atlanta. I have a proven record of what we have accomplished here in Columbia County in the last 8 years. We've opened the new PAC Center. We've lowered the millage rate 7 out of the last 8 years. Columbia County was awarded the #1 place to live in America. Our fire department has achieved the ISO rating of 1, reducing your homeowner's insurance. We've invested in law enforcement training facilities, and we will be training here for certification. We have the 3rd lowest rate, crime rate in the state, in all 159 counties. Several quality of life projects, park expansions, completion of the Each Creek Greenway Trail with the 2nd phase in Tier 2 coming up. We've purchased 128 acres of land at Riverwood for Riverwood Park to include mountain bike trails. We've invested $500 million in road construction. Our Parks and Recreation Events Departments have received a National Accreditation of Excellence Award. We've invested $12 million in the water department for our UV system. We stood up in Washington and we didn't shut down during COVID. I have an experience working with other elected officials, and I would like to continue to accomplish great things for District 125. I'd like to thank you for your support and your vote. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, gentlemen.
Everybody did a wonderful job tonight. You handled all the questions with ease, and I appreciate your candor. Grovetown, Georgia, we love you. We appreciate you hosting tonight. Mayor Jones is always so welcoming. Thank you to Conservative Television of America for helping us carry this via live streaming and for taping it for us. Thanks to the Columbia County Republican Party for spearheading tonight's program. I hope that you enjoyed it. Of course, our candidates, as I mentioned, did a great job. And of course, you, the audience, for being here, for taking time out of your Tuesday night to listen, and just as importantly, to share what you heard with your friends and neighbors, so that when we do go to the polls between now and February 13, we'll go to the polls as a more informed electorate. Hope you all have a great night, and thanks again for being here tonight.